we're going to multiply rational numbers. So we're going to learn how to multiply fractions, which is super duper easy, and then we're going to multiply decimals as well. Now decimals, they're even easier. All you got to do is type those into your actual calculator. Okay? We're going to learn how to do fractions without using our calculators. So let's take a look at the bottom numbers. So, first of all, what are the rules? We have 3 rules. Okay? To multiply. Multiply top numbers by top numbers. Multiply bottom numbers by bottom numbers. And then reduce the fraction. That's all it is. Super duper easy. So we're going to take the tops and multiply them. And we're going to take the bottoms and multiply them. So now I'm going to get 2 over 15. And I check and see, is that going lower? No, it doesn't. Because 15 doesn't divide by 2. So 2 over 15 is our final answer for that one. Okay, when we multiply B, we multiply our top numbers, we're going to get 42. We multiply our bottom numbers, we're going to get 32. Good. Our answer is an improper fraction. Am I done now? No, we must reduce that. So they can both divide by 2. Good. So I'm going to divide them both by 2. And I'm going to get 21 over 16. Good. Now check both of those numbers. Will they divide by anything? No. The only thing that will divide into 21 is 1, 21, 3, and 7. And 16 won't divide by 3, 7, or 21. So you're done. Okay? That's as low as it goes. Final answer. Let's go to the next questions. Next questions. We do the exact same thing. All right. We've got a negative number. When we deal with negatives, you just count the number of negatives. How many negatives do I have in letter A? 1. So that just means my answer is going to be negative. And it's always going to float to the top number. So the answer is going to be negative on top. So times the tops, we're going to get 6. Times the bottom, we get 40. Now, well, what will 6 and 40 divide by? 2. 2. Good. They both divide by 2. They're even numbers. So my final answer will be negative 3 over 20. And it's my final answer because 20 does not divide by 3. Okay? On B, you're going to notice we have 2 negative numbers. So when we have 2 negative numbers and we multiply, what's our answer going to be? It'll be positive. Good. Now all we do is we multiply top numbers and we multiply bottom numbers again. So 3 times 2, 6, 7 times 3, 21. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, I have to subtract that. That's not timesing. It is multiplying. This is not just separating the negative sign. When you put brackets around something, it typically means you're going to multiply it to something. Unless there's another sign in front of it. So we've seen these before. We've seen, for example, like a 3 over 7 subtract or add a negative 2 over 3. Okay? This is very different than the top one. Very different. Between the 2 on the top, there's nothing. So that's a hidden multiply sign because they mean they're sitting side by side. And side by side always means multiply. Okay? All right. Now let's take our 6 over 21. Does 6 over 21 reduce at all? Yeah. They both divide by 3. Okay? They can both divide by 3. Okay? So 6 dividing by 3 gives us how big? 2. And what's 21 divided by 3? 7. Nicely done. Good. So our final answer will be positive 2 over 7. All right. I want you to give C and D a try on your own. Okay. You've got a couple minutes. Let's see what you get here. All right. Multiplying, sitting side by side. We have how many negative signs here? 1. So our answer is going to be negative. Okay. Multiply our tops. 8 times 5. 40. Multiply the bottoms. 72. Excellent. Now you're going to divide them. And you're going to divide them as low as you can go. Well, first of all, they both divide by 4. Okay? Do they divide by a bigger number? Yes. They divide by 8. Yes, they do. So let's divide them both by 8. So we're going to get negative 5 over 9. Beautiful. Negative 5 over 9 is our very final answer. Let's take a look at D. Okay. D, how many negative signs do you have? 2. What kind of answer? Positive. Positive. Good. Multiply your tops. 10 times 6. 6 60. 9 times 15? 135. Good. Now, one of them's ending in a 5, one's in a 0. We're going to start dividing by 5s. Okay? So they both can divide by 5 a couple times. So if we divide by 5 the first time, what do we get? 12 over 27. Now, what can we divide by again? 3. Good. Now we're going to divide both of those by 3. So we're going to get 4 over 9. Perfect. Final answer. Well done, everybody. Okay, these next 4 questions have mixed numbers. We're not able to multiply mixed numbers. That's not the strategy we use. So the strategy we use, we need to change them all into improper fractions if it's a mixed number. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Change those all into mixed number or into improper fractions, and then do the multiplying. Right. So the first thing we have to do to all of those, we're changing them to impropers. So side times the bottom plus the top, we're going to get 13 over 5 timesing by 1 over 5. Okay? Now I times my top numbers times my bottom numbers. I'm going to get 13 over 25. That's my final answer because neither of them can reduce any lower. Now, remember, a lot of you started thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to add top numbers, the bottom's the same. The adding rules don't apply when we're multiplying. Okay? When we're multiplying, we do not need common denominators. Okay? That's a common mistake a lot of people do. And it happens every year, all the time. You're not the only ones that do it. A lot of people do. Okay, let's try letter F. So I'm going to get 6 times 3 is 18, plus 1 is 19. Throw the negative sign in front. Over 6. 6 times 5 is 30, plus the 2 is 32. Over 5, and it's also negative. And we're multiplying it. All right, what do we know about 2 negative sides? It makes a positive answer when you multiply. Okay, so now we're going to multiply our top numbers. And what do we get when we multiply our top numbers? Yeah, 608 is pretty big. So we get 608 all on top of 30. Now, does that go lower? Yes, they both divide by 2, but that's all. Okay, yeah, they both divide by 2. So then we're going to get 304 over 15, and that's as low as you can go on that one. Okay, on the bottom, you're going to notice the one on the left does not have a bottom number, but every number actually has a hiding bottom number of a 1. So you can put any whole number or any integer, or any number for that matter, over 1 to make it a fraction. Now we've got to convert the mixed number to a fraction, improper, so we're going to take 3 times 8, 24, plus our 5 is 29. So I have negative 9 over 1 times 29 over 8. Now you're going to multiply top numbers and then multiply bottom numbers. Do you notice I'm using a big fat dot instead of multiply sign? Yes. How come? That's right. X is also a variable. We start solving equations with variables. So we don't like to use X, the time sign, very often anymore. We're going to use that big fat dot in the middle. Yes? Good. It's going to be negative 261 over 8. And you're going to notice that doesn't reduce. That's as low as it goes. Okay? The next one. Side times the bottom, 35, plus our 2 will give us 37 over 7, timesing by 1 over 8. Now I multiply my tops, multiply the bottoms. That's going to give me 37 over 56. And that will not go any lower. Okay? 37 over 56 is as low as it goes. Okay, this one says that they all give us the same answer. Well, you tried it and you proved it. So, this gives us negative 10, negative 10, negative 10, and negative 10. What is that actually showing us then? Why do you think they made us do it so many times? Exactly. If you've only got one negative sign, it can be with any of those numbers. It doesn't matter the order you do it in. If you've only got one negative sign, it's going to be a negative answer. Okay? Same thing on the bottom. You've only got one negative sign, and they're putting it with different numbers. Okay? So all they're doing is changing where the negative sign is. But if you have a negative answer, one negative sign, all of them will be negative answers. Now, every single one of them is going to give us a negative 2 over 18, which reduces to negative 1 over 9. All 4 of them. Okay, and again, all it's showing us is that you can put the negative in different spots if you only have one of them. Okay, but you still get the same answer. Let's take a look at some decimals. I'm showing a pattern here. This one's showing us a pattern. Here's a rule. So we've got 12 times 158 gives us 1,896. Now I'm going to put a decimal in between the 1 and the 2. But where do you notice? I get a decimal in between the last two numbers. Okay? Now this guy, what you're actually doing is you're counting how many digits are after the decimal. I have one number after the decimal here. That means in the answer you're going to have one number after the decimal. Okay? Over here, they've got one number after the decimal in this guy. And in this one, they've also got one number after the decimal. So how many, what's 1 and 1? 2. So how many numbers are after the decimal, do you notice? 2. That's the pattern. Okay, so this one's going to have 2 numbers after the decimal. Over here, 1 number after the decimal. Over here, 2 numbers after the decimal. 1 plus 2 is 3. And what do we notice? 3 numbers after the decimal place. Let's do the next one on our own. We've got 1 decimal place for this guy. How many numbers after this decimal? 3. So how many numbers are after the decimal? 4. So that means I'm going to move my decimal even one more over. So I'm going to have a 1, 8, 9, 6 after. So that means I got to put that 0 in front. So what you've noticed is all that happened is the decimal just moved left one spot every time. It just moved left. So if I need to move it left one more time, that decimal's coming over here. That means the 1 is on the right-hand side of the decimal now. But then we've got to put a 0 in front because there's no other number in front of that 1. Okay, so you have to put a 0 as a placeholder. Okay, let's try some more decimal questions. All right. Now, a rule about multiplying decimal values. There's a couple things you can do. One strategy is to ignore the decimal and pretend you have whole numbers. Multiply the whole numbers. Count the number of decimals in the question. How many digits are after the decimal in the question? Then that's how many digits are after the decimal in the answer. So on this one, if I just take 8 times 12, 8 times 12 would give me what number? 96. So I get 96 if I just multiplied whole numbers. Now if I take a look, I have one number after the decimal place. So I'm going to put my decimal between them so I have one number after my decimal place. Okay, that's a good strategy to use, especially if we don't have our calculators. All right, on B, we've got one number after the decimal in the first one. The second one, we've got 2 numbers after the decimal. Our answer is going to have how many numbers after the decimal place? 3. Okay, let's try it. Multiply those in your calculators, actually. Take 2 decimal 3 times 1 decimal 23. Okay, multiply those together, and you will get 3 digits after the decimal. What'd you get, Hunter? 2.829. Good. 2.829. Okay, everybody check your work. Okay, the bottom 2, same thing. I have 1 digit after the decimal here, 1 digit after the decimal here. So my answer is going to have 2 numbers after the decimal place. So I'm going to get negative 45, decimal 76. I do have 2 digits after the decimal. Everybody multiply D and see what you get. Okay, multiplying letter D, I've got 2 numbers after the decimal in the first number, 2 numbers after the decimal in the second number. My answer is going to have 4 digits after the decimal. What did we get?
4.5675.
Good. 4.5675. Final answer. This concludes lesson 2.7, multiplying rational numbers.